Hey guys, so today we'll be going over the new settings and sensitivity options added to Hunt Showdown in the 1.15 update for console users, and how best to tailor your experience with aiming. So please excuse my annoying English voiceover and let's just get stuck in, shall we? As there's a couple topics to cover, I'll have everything timestamped, and for those who just want my settings without the explanations, I'll have them listed in a pinned comment which I'll aim to update if and when I decide to tweak anything in future. So first off, let's tackle the basics. Aim settings. Now I'm a gunslinger lad, coming from other fast-paced FPS games like Battlefield means having my gun at the ready at all times can be greatly beneficial, and with the ability to holster your weapon by holding down the Y button or triangle on PlayStation, I generally see no real downsides to this setup. Value-wise, my holstered sensitivity, which comes into effect as just mentioned whilst your weapon is holstered, I've treated identically to my shoulder sensitivity as this just feels more comfortable to me overall. However, if you're using the hunter control scheme, you may want to consider having this setting slightly higher than your shoulder aim, as this can allow for faster movement whilst keeping things more controllable aiming wise, because you'll spend most of your downtime with your weapon holstered compared to gunslinger mode. So for my horizontal setting, I set it to 1.5. Obviously there's a degree of personal preference here, not all my values will work for everyone, but the basic principles and ratios I think can still be applied. The important thing here is though that I have my vertical value set to just under half of my horizontal one. The majority of movement in FPS games takes place on the horizontal axis, so this helps keep my aim steady when tracking targets and makes hipfire aiming feel a lot more controllable overall. Now my ADS ratios essentially mirror the shoulder aim values, except they're roughly halved compared. This just slows things down when aiming to allow a more controllable experience with precise adjustments at range. It's important to note though that my ADS vertical value is roughly half of the ADS horizontal value, not simply half of my shoulder aim vertical value. This is to keep the ratios consistent between each horizontal and vertical plane. Next up is the aim boost settings. Now these are new and they're split into three categories: strength, delay, and ramp time. The effect itself is essentially just an aim accelerator option, and the strength value determines how much your sensitivity will boost in relation to the severity of tilting the thumbstick. It's what the turning extra strength option was before, except with these additional options you can now set separate values for ADSing and control when it kicks in with the delay value. Now I've got my shoulder and holster strength value both set to about 1.8. I found this to be the most comfortable number to allow me to do a 180 reasonably quickly while still maintaining smooth and controllable aiming whilst in hipfire. The delay value I've set to 0, as I want this boost to kick in immediately and keep my movement as fluid as possible. The ramp time is how long it takes for this boost to be fully applied. 0.2 felt right for me, but have a play around yourself and see what works for you. Now my ADS aim boost settings are essentially the same, they're just set slightly lower to maintain that more controllable experience and allow for those finer aiming adjustments. I'd recommend hitting the shooting range to dial these settings in more to your liking, as these will likely vary from person to person. Start with a rough value and then adjust them incrementally until they feel natural. As for the various scope levels, I've opted to have them reduce in strength relative to the magnification level. So basically, the bigger the zoom, the lower the sensitivity. This just keeps my overall muscle memory when shooting fairly consistent relative to the specific magnifications, and is something I do in every game that offers different scopes. But again, play around with the various scopes at the top of the shooting range until you find the values that feel most comfortable to you. Right, aim assist. So there's a couple of factors at play to be aware of with this newly overhauled version. First is that it will only activate when both you and the enemy you're aiming at are both moving. This can help in those awkward face-to-face engagements where both you and the enemy are like locked in this kind of strafe battle. It should be noted that if you are in an engagement like this and someone stops strafing, there is a small grace period where the aim assist will still be active before it stops having an effect. Secondly, that the strength and range of the aim assist will vary depending on which weapons you are using, both in ADS and in hipfire. Now for this setting, I'd suggest trying it out for yourself really, but personally I've disabled it. At least if you want to improve your aim and consistency in gunfights overall, it's better to not be relying on aim assist systems, as in my experience aim assist can be a detriment to long-term aiming skill. For example, each weapon having its own strength of aim assist means your overall muscle memory when shooting will be inconsistent compared to shooting without it. So my personal recommendation will be to leave it off and to train your aim naturally, but if it works for you and you have trouble staying on target in CQC engagements, perhaps try it enabled. Next we have the new dead zone settings and input curves. The dead zone settings allow you to set the level in which stick input will not be registered. The lower the value, the quicker the input will register, allowing for tighter control. However, if you have stick drift, this will be more noticeable at these lower levels, so just be aware of that. For my left, the movement stick, I've set this to 0 to get the most responsive input possible, again keeping things snappy and reactive. For the directional stick on the right, however, I've opted to set this at about 0.13, which personally felt like a nice middle ground, allowing for smooth, micro adjustments when aiming at range, yet leaving enough resistance to keep things controlled against the weapon sway and not throw me off. As for the input curve, I changed mine to linear, as this felt the smoothest in relation to my other aiming settings. For those looking to experience a similar feel to the previous 1.14 aim settings, I'd recommend giving this one a try, and adjust your aim boost settings from there. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Once again, I'll have my full settings listed in a pinned comment below, which I'll update if and when I decide to tweak them. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask. I'll respond to each and every one as quickly as I can. Now, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please consider dropping a like for the almighty algorithm overlord. And if you enjoy regular Hunt Showdown content, perhaps consider subscribing as well. I cover any and all Hunt Showdown related news in quick, concise summary videos. I do gameplay highlights, we have regular DLC giveaways, basically all things Hunt. But regardless, I hope you have a wonderful day and have fun out there.